Everyone, how you doing this evening? So, a couple of things. First and foremost, thank you for the growing viewership. This new playlist, this topic actually came from a viewer saying, "Hey, all you real estate investors, bigger pockets, all these folks are interviewing people who have dozens, if not hundreds of units talking about big deals. Why doesn't anybody talk about the first deal?" So I am going to create a playlist for this. My intention is to create a list of 10 questions and ask all my friends and real estate investors to answer these questions. My intention is to kind of give the 10 questions and then have people just record talking to them. I could do it as another interview series, but I think it's going to work better if people just take the 10 questions, which I'll leave in the details. They record themselves on their phones and then they send me the files. That's my vision. We'll see if that works. Second, I have turned my phone horizontal, I guess. A couple people have made that suggestion. Uh, I'm going to give it a shot. You tell me if it works. It's usually vertical, I guess, when I do these live sessions, but we're going to do this horizontal. And if this works, I will do it horizontal. So let me know what you think. So I have my 10 questions. I've been thinking about this all day, and this is going to be 100% about the first property we purchased. So question number one, what did you buy? So I bought it ended up being a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. I've talked about it a bunch on Norris Drive. I bought it for 107 grand, and it rented for 1095. It again was in a market that I didn't know, but again, I'd been looking for so long, I just felt like I had to do something. It was certainly risky looking back on it, but I felt the risk of doing nothing kind of outweighed what outweighed not doing something. So um, that's what I did. It was a house. I didn't know any better. I guess I knew about duplexes and quads, but nobody I knew owned any. I didn't even think about apartments. I mean, I bought what I lived in. That's all I ever knew. Oh, so why did you buy it? Question number two. What did you expect? Honestly, I didn't expect a lot. My spreadsheet showed that it would cash flow several $100s a month. I frankly didn't believe it. I did hope it would be break even. My big intention was to hold it for 30 years. So I bought it when I was 30, and my grand plan was to hold it for 30 years, and hopefully it would break even most of that time, and I would own it free and clear. And I considered that first property to be a cornerstone of my retirement. Um, I'm not a big stock guy. If you follow this channel and the like, I had a 401k, but I only ever did company match. So whatever they matched, I put in. But other than that, not a big believer in the stock market. Again, what did I expect? Again, I expected it to break even. Um, I never really thought past 5 years, knowing that time and appreciation and mortgage paydown were real. But again, for me, it was about doing something. I'd spent over a year thinking about it. I'd spent over a year trying to find something that worked. And when we finally found something that hit our box, I remember Olivia looking over, going, either write the offer or stop talking about real estate. So, um, I felt like I had to do something because I'd been talking about it forever. Number three is, were you nervous? I don't think I was really nervous. Um, I guess I was not looking forward to the long drives, right? Fresno is 2.5 hours away. I feared that I wouldn't be able to find a property manager and that I would fall into self management, which would have been horrible. I live too far away. I'm not handy. I'm sure it would have eventually hurt us. Um, but we found one in the beginning that got us through the first year. Ultimately, had to fire them, and we fired several. But they were able to get me through the first year, which we were able to add a second one. But I don't think I was really nervous. I guess I was apprehensive. It was a city I'd never been to. I'd been there once now. I looked at one house. I mean, I still can't believe we wrote the offer, right? We'd look at lots of real estate in the Bay Area. Um, but when we went to this new market, met with a realtor who we didn't know, and nobody we knew them, right? We cold called them, off the phone book or something, because again, the internet wasn't around, or at least wasn't around a bunch. So I guess I was ready for anything, but I don't think I was nervous. I was apprehensive. I was hopeful. I was really hopeful, I guess. I was hopeful I was doing something to change my future. Because again, if you know our story, the first 10 years, I lost a bunch of money in the stock market and felt like I was an idiot. So I was hopeful this would work. I wasn't nervous though. So tell you about the first year, right? So you owned it. Tell us about the first year. Unfortunately, my first year of ownership with this property was horrible. Nothing, again, even thinking back on it now, that we could have done different. We just had the wrong tenant move in. They had income, they had credit checks, criminal checks, everything passed. Just life events happened. They got divorced. She took off, and he became a deadbeat. Um, and that was horrible, right? We live in California, so it takes a while to get him out. He was destructive when he was a drunk. So it was pretty bad. I remember looking at that at kind of the 6 month mark, and going, kind of felt like a failure. Um, Felt like it was a repeat of all the money I lost in the stock market. We kind of sat down and reviewed what we'd done to see if we could have done something different. We sat with the property manager going, what the heck did you do? Right? We blamed them. We looked at all the information. It was just, you're in the people business, and sometimes that happens. So, um, the good news is after that first 6 months, the property did take off and perform throughout our ownership. Never had another hiccup. Cash flowed every month after that, until we refied it, which we'll talk in a minute. So the first 6 months were horrible. The second 6 months, it performed as expected. How long did you hold it? Videos for 3 months. I really like the content. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you like this new series I'm trying to spin up. How long did you hold it? Is question number 5. So we held this property, this first single family home, about 5 years, is my recollection. It might have been 6. We ended up doing a 1031 exchange out of it into a building that we actually still own. So the equity that this first house built us still resides in our portfolio, in a multifamily unit that is producing hefty cash flow for us. So again, that first purchase for us has turned out extremely well, although you wouldn't know it after the first 6 months. And you're in the people business, and unfortunately, sometimes they're just gonna be people, and life happens, and you got to move on. So that was question number 5. Question number 6: lessons learned, or what did you learn? I guess there was one point with this property that was a big mistake. We did a cash out refi right around year 3, I think, and we took out too much debt, or too much money, too much cash. We basically took a property that was now performed for 2 years, every month like clockwork. Here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, here's your cash. And we put on so much debt that it turned negative. And it's what I call an alligator property now. And that was not a good feeling. From that day of the refinance until we ultimately sold it, it was negative every single month. And that's not why I bought it. I didn't buy it to be negative. If it was break even, I would have been okay. But it was negative every single month. Even in a perfect month with no expenses, it was negative. So I'm not a big believer in full-on cash-out refis. I don't enjoy high leverage. I am perhaps too conservative for people that talk about real estate and building wealth. But I can only be true to who we are and what we do. So that's my big lesson learned. Again, you're in the people business. People will disappoint you, right? Our first tenant was a train wreck. He unfortunately, yes, we do have LLCs and umbrellas. I'll do something on that in upcoming videos. But yeah, lessons learned. Again, people business. Watch your refinance. Watch your purchase. All of that. Don't over leverage. I assumed the bank was conservative, and as we later learned in '08, banks aren't very conservative. So we took out too much debt, and that it still hurts to remember that I wrote checks for more than we collected. It was very dumb. Okay, next number 7. Would you buy it again, knowing what you know today? Yes, absolutely. We would buy it again. And this question's in here because, as I expect some investors, they're going to come back and say, no, I wouldn't buy it. But in this case, without question, we bought a California single family home, 3 bedroom, 2 bath in a growing market. It appreciated. Um, we 1031 out near the peak. We still own the equity today. It's been a home run of epic proportions, right? We have no money in the deal. Yeah, infinite return, all these things. So it's yeah, it was a home run for us, without question. Still made plenty of mistakes though, but it was a good deal. Any mistakes during the ownership? Yeah, the big one for me was the cash out refi. You have no idea how frustrating it was to take a property that was running so well for 2 years, adding cash to our bank accounts, that then started subtracting cash from our bank accounts for 2 or 2.5 years. That was, I will never do that again. That's why I created the term alligator property. I don't think negative cash flow is painful enough. It's why I have a T-shirt with an alligator on it eating bags of money. It's one of the things I've created that I tie to this one rental at a time brand. So definitely a mistake. Number 9 is, are you glad you did it? Absolutely. This one rental at a time story starts with the first house. It took me from theory to now my name was on a deed, right? My name was on ownership. I had to sink or swim. It's one thing to research, it's one thing to walk through open houses, it's one thing to run Excel spreadsheets, but until you're the owner, you just don't know. And that's why I tell a lot of people, if you get your first property, sit tight, even if you have money, because you got to make sure you're right for this game. I strongly suspect a lot of people that have had our first experience probably would have never bought a second one. So again, I think you need to hold it for quite a while. So yeah, we are absolutely glad we did it. Number 10, and final question, hopefully what will become a series that other investors take on, is what advice do you have for investors who are at zero and thinking about getting their first property? Well, first off, I feel you. All right, I spent a year trying to find that magic market, that magic thing. Uh, you got it. Absolutely. That's what we're here for, being honest about our story. Um, so if you're sitting there at zero and you've been researching like I did for over a year, my wife gets all the credit, right? She said, "Okay, you finally found the square peg for the square hole. What now?" Right? Because before I could say, "Hey, it didn't fit our criteria. It was too expensive or out of the area or whatever." But she said, "Okay, we have something. It fits. Write the offer." And she was right. I could have spiraled out of control, and I could still be researching 20 years later. So you get tight on your criteria, and when you find something that fits all sides, you either write the offer or you decide to do something else. I think so. That was important. Know what you want to do. I think you can go a lot of different ways in this business. I often call it going 50, an inch in 50 directions. Yes, I have a spreadsheet that I use that I built. It's a big part of my online course. After this video loads, there's a link to it. You can see the whole outline. But yeah, I believe you have to learn your market, right? That's the big thing, is you got to learn your market. You got to make your second deal better than the first deal, all those kinds of things. So it's a big deal. Um, and the final one is, don't. There's so many people talking about all different components, all these different LLCs and land trusts and all these other things. Learn your market first, right? There's all that other stuff doesn't matter until you're an owner of stuff. Once you're the owner of stuff and that gets bigger and bigger, you've got to take care of yourself. Umbrella insurance won't be enough, but it's a great place to start. Lending is different inside an LLC and not. There's so many other things to worry about. Realize it just doesn't matter until you own something. It doesn't, right? It doesn't matter if you have 3 nested LLCs and you're incorporated in Delaware and you're using land trust for this or that. And if you don't own anything, that's just expensive, right? So just realize there's, sometimes the chicken before the egg, or whatever you want to call that, cart before the horse. So those are my 10 questions. Again, I'll put them in the notes because I'm hoping other investors watch this and record their own video. Is what did you buy, how much, and what it rent for? Why did you buy? What did you expect? Were you nervous? Tell us about your first year of experience. How long did you hold it? Lessons learned. Lessons learned, or what did you learn? Would you buy it again, knowing what you know today? Any mistakes during your ownership? Are you glad you did it? And then number 10 is, what advice do you have for investors who are currently at 0, thinking about getting to 1? So thank you very much for watching this. Let me know if this horizontal thing works, because it's the first time I've done it. I have no idea because I can't see what you're seeing. So let me know in the comments or something. So if you like this horizontal, several of you send me comments below, so I will record all my videos this way. I have no idea. So let me know. Okay, everybody. Thanks.